up, everybody? Daniel Allison, the average dude, along with my cousin Jenny Winny.
Good morning.
How you doing, Jenny?
I'm great. I mean, I hadn't seen you in like a week, you know? Well,
I know. You missed
feels weird.
1 week. You missed 1 week.
And you miss so much.
You missed so much.
So much.
I feel like I don't even know you anymore.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think we're wait, get that popcorn ready, Jonathan.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. You're fasting. Never mind.
So what do you think about Jonathan's fasting?
Well, I mean, what's it called again? Like, what's the whole? I mean, he's doing like a fast, like a full fast.
He's doing a full fast where he does not eat anything, no food. And Jonathan, you correct me. So it's water and vitamins and some supplements and things like that, but no food.
Good night. I don't know. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, that's like a real deal deal. But it's actually been very interesting. So he's posted on it. I just met Jonathan here not too long ago, as you know, through LinkedIn and prolonged water fasting. So if you're not connected with Mr. Jonathan Peoples, please connect with him and ask him about the fasting, because I've found it very interesting. And
I could imagine you'd get like some kind of clarity, like you probably start seeing things.
Well, what's funny, you know that show Naked and Afraid, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Naked and Afraid, these people aren't very good. They're not, some are better than others, obviously, survivalist type folks. But when they get hungry, man, they start getting really good at hunting. The more
listen. Yeah. I mean, I bet if we didn't have any food, I could go out there and catch a squirrel or something. I mean,
absolutely. Now, I'm going to say something, and I don't want this to change the trajectory of the show, but your video is a little bit laggy on my end.
Mine?
Yeah. Are you experiencing the same thing, or?
No. Am I laggy for everybody else?
Maybe not, but it's okay, Jenny. I didn't want to definitely get clarity. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but hey, Jonathan, am I lagging? Are we?
Can you see us? Are there any technical difficulties?
I'm hardwired in, but that don't mean anything.
Yeah. No, I don't know what it is, but there's some distortion on your image. And I hear you before I see your mouth moving. So a little different.
Well, you know what? Maybe I should take off my microphone. Let's see. Just keep.
Yeah. Oh, Jenny's got a microphone, and I love the fact that she's got the microphone. Let's just see. This is technical issues on the fly. Let's just see if Jenny Winny can get this straightened out here.
Okay. Let me unplug it.
Yeah, for whatever reason, when we were talking earlier, it wasn't doing that. But so, guys, welcome to Jenny Winny and the Average Dude. We got too much silence, and we can't have that. So, what I have just done in the comments, I posted a link to the StreamYard virtual studio. Looks like a Godzilla movie. No offense, Jenny Winny, but what we'll do, if anyone wants to join the broadcast, I can't hear you now, Jenny. Your mute's on, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Better?
No. Absolutely not.
Oh, well, got to deal with it.
Yeah, we got to deal with it. As my friend Fred Blanton says, live TV. You never know what you're going to get with the live television. So you guys are fine. No real issue. Let's get to it. Life is moving on over here.
Okay, got it.
I hear you, Joe. All right. So what we're going to do today, but after Jenny Winny and I talk a little bit, what we thought we would do is invite some of the folks that watch and listen to the show. I've got the link in the comments. So again, after we talk a little bit, click the link and come join us. And Joe, yes, the link is there. So
it's in the comments.
Looking forward to having somebody join us later. But before we get into that, before we get to meet all these fantastic individuals, I need to talk to my cousin Jenny Winny and find out what's going on in her life.
Nothing.
Jenny.
Well, I'm obviously I'm lagging. I hate it. I hate that.
Why? I knew I shouldn't have told you.
Yeah, I know. You shouldn't have told me because it's just messing it. I got like a sweaty hot flash.
No, yeah. You need to let it go. It's not a big deal. And tell me about your week.
So far so good. Going camping tomorrow.
Going to camping.
Yep.
Are you going to the Bear Den?
Bear Den, Spruce Pine, North Carolina.
Nice.
You and I've gone since we were itty bitty. I'm going to
Yeah.
pop up a picture here, y'all. This is the original Jenny, Winny, and the Average Dude.
Hey, look at there.
Woo! Look at that.
Bad technical difficulties, but you can see I'm in deep thought there.
Yeah.
Thinking about something. So who loves camping? I know some people love camping. Some people don't love camping. If you love camping, let me hear from you in the comments and tell me why you love camping.
I love it.
Why do you love it?
Because number one, well, see, I'm afraid I'm lagging a lot, and that's just, but
You
anyway.
don't worry about that anymore.
Okay. Number one, you don't have to worry what you look like. You're just out there with your friends, sitting by a fire.
That's right. Maybe the connecting with nature. You get out of the living room, you get out of the walls. You see, hey, I'm a human being on this planet Earth, and you've got all sorts of Joe. I'm gonna post it again. You've got all sorts of trees and nature, and I think just that wide open. I don't know. It gets you back to. Yeah. It's a way to connect with people, sitting around the campfire, out in nature, telling stories.
I know. I love it.
That's a great way to connect. And then, of course, you have to play all the classic camping games, right? So you got to roast marshmallows. What else do you have to do? If you're going camping, what do you have to do?
You got to roast marshmallows. Somebody's got to catch one on fire.
Yep. Yep.
And then be shocked when it's crispy critter black marshmallow.
That's right. Yeah. But those are good, aren't they? When it's burnt on the outside and then gooey on the middle. Ooh,
yes,
really?
I hate it when it's burnt on the outside and then still stone cold in the center.
Yeah, that's no good. No. What else do we do? We play our games. We play our hide and seek in the dark with the flashlights. We've told y'all all about that. We won't take you down that road. But what else do we do?
You know what? I mean, honestly, we sit around and laugh.
Yeah.
We do a lot of laughing.
Laughter is the best medicine, they say.
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Daniel, I don't think that you can post the link in LinkedIn. Like when you post that, it's hitting Facebook, it's hitting YouTube, but it's not hitting LinkedIn.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's what's happening, Joe. So what I'm going to do, Joe, because I did want to talk to Mr. Joe today. I'm going to hit invite. I'm going to copy. And I'm going to go over to LinkedIn messaging and send this to him. But while I'm doing that, tell me more about what's going on, Jenny. Uh-oh. Jenny totally froze up on us, but we're not going to tell her. We're going to keep it going. Joe, I'm going to send you this link. And here we go. Boom.
I'm fixing myself here.
And to anyone else that would like to join, again, I'm putting the link. It's on YouTube and Facebook. But if you'd like to join, let me know in the comments, and I will send the message to you on LinkedIn. And again, what we're doing is inviting people. Jenny went in, want to meet some of you. We haven't had the chance to do that. Today's your chance, right?
Yes.
So what else is going on this week, Jenny?
Well, you remember I kind of wanted to mention the book,
Yes.
We originally when I was the first time on your little thing, we talked about the book a little bit. And
we did.
I try not to talk about me. It's not all about me. But anyway, I've noticed lately I have talked to more and more people who seem to relate a lot. And then when I tell the story, it's like I met a girl yesterday. She texted me last night, said, I told my friend who lives out of state about your book. She wants it. Tell me where I can get it, Yeah. And so it's just, I see Joe came in, but I'm going to go through this real fast.
Oh, yeah. Well, Joe's good.
Well, my daughter has OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I've
Mhm.
got it. She had it really bad. And so, it's funny, this includes your name. There's nothing included about you, Daniel, with this. But when she was
Oh,
younger, I said, hey, draw a picture of OCD. What does
draw a
OCD?
picture of
Yeah.
OCD. So she's suffering from OCD, and
Yes.
you tell her to externalize. Tell me what you're seeing. What does this OCD look like?
In your mind, so this is what we got.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see my name on the character, Otis Chung Daniel.
Yeah.
But
OCD. Okay. That was okay. So that was great. Now all of a sudden, we've put a name with it,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So then I sent that picture to Crayola. And I mean, this is a terrible picture, but this is the only one I had.
Oh, I liked it.
So now all of a sudden we're like, hey, she'll say, Otis is bothering me. Or I'm like, I'm not talking to Otis. She's very repetitive. Go forward 5 years or whatever. And I said, I think this would be a good idea for a book. And so we had an illustrator take her drawing and created
Boom.
Maggie's friend Otis.
Isn't that a fantastic story?
Yeah, because it's real, it's true. And we did a little miniature Otis to go along with it.
There you go. Now, let me ask you this. Did that process of externalizing something psychologically that's going on, did that help Maggie?
Yes, because I'll tell you why. All of a sudden, it's like we all suffer with junk, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Maybe it's food or obsessive thoughts. But the thing that she had to get in her mind, and I didn't even realize it, but even her therapist said, it's not her. She is not the mental illness. She is not the addiction. That is something Otis bothers her.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
I do. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so now it's like, okay, this is Otis, acting a fool, not me.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I think that, and I think you probably have thought about this, but there's probably other things that you can create this externalized kind of name it, visualize it, draw a picture of it.
Yep.
And it gives
you know what I mean? Something that you can sit here like, here's Otis, and something you can sit there and say, okay, and by the end of the book, because it's really her struggle. She couldn't go to sleep at night unless she told me she loved me 100 times, basically. But
well, you're very lovable, Jenny.
I am. But see, by the end of the book,
Otis
is asleep. He's asleep.
Oh, nice.
He's not bothered.
Hey, talk about a happy ending.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, it's a kid's book. It couldn't be.
Yeah, I like it. Now, speaking of Maggie, I do have the TikTok out. Mm-hmm. I haven't posted anything, but I got on TikTok, and since we're talking about Maggie, I love her videos, man. They crack me up so much.
She is gifted. I mean, she makes you, for somebody that is this like anxious, anxiety driven, the girl is almost at 20,000 followers. They're authentic followers.
They love her.
They love them some Maggie.
Yeah. They do, and I love just how random her videos are. I mean, everything from she does a good job.
Listen, the girl nails it, and I mean, she's developed what she wants, and I mean, I mentioned it before, but it's like she's getting some traction. People mentioned her in blogs. People mention her. They refer to her. Hey, because she's got all these great ideas for Marvel. Everybody's like, Marvel, hire this girl.
Yeah, no, and I think that will continue to happen. I think it will continue to happen. And what I want to do right now, I see Joe sitting backstage. I'm going to bring Joe on in, and we're going to continue our discussion. We may bring up a few of these points, and we're going to let Joe kind of give his input too. So, Joe, there he is. Welcome.
Do I see myself?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
welcome to the big time, Joe.
Woohoo!
It is a big time with you both here, man. You know what? It's funny because I have two pieces on here. So let me go on here. Give me a minute.
Okay. Well, Jonathan said,
Jenny, go ahead.
What were your worst OCDs? Oh, Jonathan, I'm going to tell you what. I think mine was triggered by my neighbor's house burning down when I was a teenager, or like actually a preteen. And it usually, and Daniel lived on the other side of me, but it just burned.
There we
the
go.
whole house. And it just messed me up as far as I'd check outlets. I'd check the stove. I would check everything, check, off, just irrational comments, irrational thoughts.
Yeah.
And Louise was more like, she had to be with me. She had to say, I love you. What if I die? And she didn't say, I love you while I went to the bathroom. I mean, just.
Yeah, let me. I am going to make. I don't typically do this, but I will say with things like OCD, ADD, all of these labels that we put on psychological situations.
Yeah,
it's really there's a lot of ambiguity. I think if not what one person says is OCD, someone else might say, oh well, you're just worried about that a lot. Joe, what do you think about that? There's a lot of labels out there, ADD, OCD. What are your thoughts on things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say firsthand, right? Because I don't have a daughter that has it.
Yeah.
But I think, distractions in general are an issue. And this came up this morning on LinkedIn with somebody. And it was like, how many people get into a state of distractions? Are we focused every day? Do we have habits that make sense for us to put ourselves in the best position and to help others? And so, I think it's a question of focus, whether it's a designated, symptom that we call it, and we have to take medication for it, and we have to be aware of it, or is it with everybody? So everybody does have that sort of distraction in their life. And, Jenny, I tell you, with your daughter, it's inspiring. The fact that you have the patience, the fact that you worked with her, you wrote a book, you took a subject that traditionally has, has some stigma to it.
Yeah, it does.
And you did something fun with it. And, it's like any challenge that people have, we all think that it gets solved and you move forward from it.
You just learn to cope. You learn to manage it better.
Exactly. And I think, even as a parent, or we want to solve things, we want to make it all right. And then we want to move forward from it. And sometimes in life, it's not about moving forward with anything. It's about moving to a position. It's like the saying that meet people where they are, not where you want them to be. Right? Does that make sense?
You know what, Joe? Completely, because, and I'll tell you, my mom, she, we have a business together, and I would be dealing with Maggie. I ended up having to homeschool Maggie at the business to deal with this. And Mom would say, well, just tell her, and I'm like, Mom, it's real to her. Right. Is it real? Am I going to die if Maggie doesn't ride with me in the car to work? No. But to her, that irrationality is real. And I can't imagine having to deal with that in my mind. So I would appease it to a point to where we could deal with it. And so now it would be like when we'd be out in public and she'd say, Mom, Otis is bothering me so bad. Okay, that was a way of not having to say, hey, my OCD has flared up really bad, or I would say, hey, I'm not talking to Otis anymore, So things like that. But yeah, I get it because, and I think that, Daniel, to what you said, I think there's a big thing of people just attaching labels like my mom will say, oh, I just kept, with COVID, I'm so OCD. No, that's not OCD. OCD is an obsessive compulsive. It's an irrational thought that if you are not doing this compulsion, then you're not relieved, so there's a difference.
Yeah, I guess my thought is, where do we draw those lines between what's human nature, part of being a human being with different personalities, different interests, different focusing capacities, to Joe's point, and these things that are labels, specifically, hey, I've got something wrong with me. And I'm not saying that we have these things to overcome, but I think sometimes if we put these labels, it's like, hey, I'm broken in some way. And I think that sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing with even doing this, is to not make it about you've got the problem, like Joe's got the
That's
issue,
right.
or Joe
Yeah,
is the issue.
there's another part that we got to add in here, guys, and that's love. I say agape love because that's unconditional, and whether it's in business or in life, the point is that it's like footprints in the sand. I don't know if you know that poem.
Yeah.
But the poem basically, to bring it down, is that we're walking together, and somebody's talking about Jesus, right? But it could be anybody. It could be a friend.
Right.
But you're walking in the sand, and all of a sudden, there's only two footprints, and they're going through their toughest times, and then towards the end, they say, "Well, what do you mean you were with me? I only saw two footprints." And the end of it, not to give it all away, but the end of it is, I was carrying you.
That's why there was only that one set. It was like, you thought I wasn't there, but I was actually carrying you through.
Exactly. And I think in business, we need more of that. The definition of love is to will the good of the other.
Yep.
I would say, how many people in business show up every day wanting to truly help and to get with maybe somebody that's struggling. It could be bullying. It could be anything, or maybe just somebody that is a point of their life. I'm going to let you know something, both of you, is that a friend of ours that we met has recently got a divorce. I only can say that because it's public.
Okay.
She's struggling with it, it seems. And so she's making it public.
Yeah.
Again, people go through struggles in their life. So instead of being judgmental, let's say, what do they need? If they need to talk about something, listen.
Yep.
And I think, really honestly, we're hitting upon something here in this conversation that we can all be a success. We can all give it our best. We can all chip away at those pieces that make it difficult to see. If you ever go into an art museum, it's funny. If you go into a museum in the East, right, it's one way to look at things. If you go in the West, where we're considered, is that we're always trying to take a blank canvas and fill it with all these colors that makes an image. And we're never quite satisfied, because sometimes you'll go back to that painting and, I got to correct this, I got to add this. If you go out to the West, the difference with the West and the East is that if you go into the East and you go to a museum, because I know friends that have, they say, you guys in the West, you have to have paintings and you got to fill it up and you got to start with a blank canvas. We start with a piece of jade, right? And we chip away at it. So we chip away, we get rid of all that stuff that doesn't mean anything. We try to be it down to the statue that is at the core of that jade or piece of block or whatever that they're chipping away at. And he said that makes all the difference in life. Getting rid of all those things that are distracting to us, to uncover that essence in us that is our true self. Right. And
Joe, you're right. I think what you said, like right before that, about actually legitimately in business too, caring, and showing that. I mean, honestly, I was just talking with my mother about this yesterday, because I had met someone in not Chicago, in Charlotte, and we just kind of connected, and so I met her for coffee yesterday, and I can't solve anything, but I could listen. I just listened, and I got a text from her last night that said, "I'm so thankful to have met you, because you didn't say I'm thinking of you. You showed up physically to be there." And that means,
that's cool.
Yeah.
But now, y'all, we hear a lot. I mean, Joe, I know you're in sales.
Yeah.
And we hear that you need to be assertive and aggressive in sales. How in the world can you be successful in sales and be showing love at the same time? Isn't that contradictory to what a salesperson is supposed to be?
Supposed to be.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, years ago, and we all grew up in a certain time period, but I would say that when I was growing up, that it was, if you couldn't decimate the competition, you weren't doing your job. if you couldn't completely defeat your competition to a pulp, and if you ever thought about having a friend that's a competitor, then you're a traitor.
Yeah.
So fast forward that, because I always learned that, you know what, that never made sense to me. I won all the trips. I got, I was pretty successful, especially my early years, and I still am.
Yeah.
But now it's a different way. It's because now you're engaging others, even the competition,
Yep.
because there's plenty of fish out there, believe me.
Yep.
But what you do is now, wouldn't you want to have someone that is a friend that's a competitor, or more in tune with somebody that you work with? It's funny because if you do engage with people that you work with customers, they really want for you to help them.
Yep, they do.
And how can you help them if all you care about is to try to take their money out of their pocket, or to try to put them down? Authenticity, trustworthiness, integrity, these aren't just words. They have to be earned. You have to wake up with that mentality right off the bat when you get up. I'm not saying it works all the time, but I'm saying that you can certainly succeed in life and have more value to others if you create that level of atmosphere. That's all.
Now, Daniel, you've said I've heard you say that, Daniel.
Yeah, well,
all about everybody. Let's all do it together.
Yeah, all boats rise. But something that I've noticed with Joe is that, he talks about these sorts of things, being unselfish, being about the other person, that sort of thing. But you also speak your mind, right?
Yes, you do.
You find a way. So a lot of times it's easy to fall into that trap where we're just, placating to everyone, trying to keep everything calm and nice and neat. But you have a nice way of being able to state your mind and state what you're thinking in a way that doesn't make people defensive. Do you find that to be true?
I'm just going to go here, because that's true, Joe, and I think too, it's like, you're so kind, you're very validating, but you don't compromise. It's without compromise. And there's a difference. You can be loving and validating without compromising self.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm perfect.
I'll go ahead, Joe.
We didn't say you were.
We're always trying to get towards progression. We're always trying to keep the others in mind. I would say this is that, I've made mistakes. I've made plenty of them. But, what I've also learned that if you do make a mistake, like say it come across a certain way, I would say clarify it so that it's effective communication. And this goes back to a guest that you had. We both know, Sarah Mary. She's a dear soul. Yeah, she's all about effective communication, but also say you're sorry. It's okay to say you're sorry. Look, I apologize if that's what you thought wasn't my intent.
Yes, agreed.
Let's just make sure that we get that off the table, and moving forward, let me do a better way. And I had to do that recently to someone that she was speaking her mind, and she was trying to get it across that she was the victim and she was dealing with that victimhood. And other people that commented say, hey, we appreciate what you've gone through, and we appreciate, being, a victim, but you can't stay there. You have to move from there to a position that you feel secure and you're going to be empowered again. And I think I might have not said it correctly, so I apologized. And somebody, a dear friend of mine, said, hey, Joe, you got to understand it's tough out there, and, you might want to change it. So I did. And and that's also noting to me of a good friend that will point that out. It's like,
absolutely.
It's like when you have a spinach in your mouth
and nobody tells you
in your teeth. Who's the person that's going to say, hey, Joe, you got a piece of spinach over here,
Now, I have a hard time. I hate telling people things like that. If I'm being honest about it, I hate to be the one that's like, hey, I'm bad about that.
But you know what, Joe? I am, this is my phrase. I say it all the time. It can come across. I said, perception is reality. It doesn't matter what you intended.
Right.
I intended it is if you made the other person feel that way,
Right.
that's the reality of it, you know? And so
Mhm.
I'm one of these people too, even with my friends, even with my average dude, I'll be devil's advocate. I'll say, I can see this, but do you see how that could come across? You know, that I don't mind doing that because, one thing is intent. And when you know that somebody does not have malicious intentions, it's like, that's the whole thing is that, it's just our words can come across. And if they hurt, then you got to check it out.
You know what I would say is that 3 words that make the difference: assume positive intent.
Mhm.
Assume positive intent. It means that no matter who you meet, assume that they're authentic, they're
Yeah.
coming across good. They might be having a bad day. It's okay. That happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you come from that mentality, at least you're giving the benefit of the doubt,
Yep.
right? And even little things like that can make a difference. Does that make
Even
sense?
yeah, and you know what? Because even I'm just going to use this as an example. Somebody says, "Oh, say I talked to you, Joe," and I'm like, "Daniel, listen to what he texted me. He said blah 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 blah," and I'm wanting you to jump on with me. I try sometimes to say, now wait a second. Maybe they didn't mean that. I do. I just did this recently with a relative, and another relative had texted, and it was like, look at this, and it's like, well, maybe we're just assuming that, and we can't assume it. Let's just. I love that. It's like Jonathan just said, assume positive intent. That
Yeah.
is, yeah. That is look for the best in others. Assume that they have your best interest at heart.
Yeah, and look, we know the world isn't fair. That's the other thing. I grew up in East Boston. It was a good place to grow
I
up.
can't
I
tell that
mean,
you would be from Boston. Your accent sounds like mine.
exactly. I love it. I admit to it. But what I'm saying is, we have everywhere. It's wherever you grew up, and that's
Yeah.
why it's important when you meet people. Say, hey, where'd you grow up? So try to get an understanding of where they're coming from, and also. Just have an affinity. They might have grew up in Boston, they moved to New York, or they moved to Spartanburg, South
Yes.
Carolina.
Yeah.
And why? Just try to get personal with them, you know. Um, but we got to understand that we're all from humankind, right? We're all from the human race, but we need to put
That's
the
it.
word kind more in the human part of it, you know. Not to say when I said that life isn't fair, it isn't fair. It just it's better. I try to call myself an optimistic realist. Optimistic realist, meaning that I've learned to understand the ways of the world,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, there's hope. We can believe that, you know, we do want to surround ourselves. We're going to meet all kinds of people today or whatever, moving forward. Take the good. See, even the bad people have a certain amount of lessons to be learned.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, though, like you said, we want to surround ourselves with the 5 people that we choose to be with. Now, I know some family, especially around Thanksgiving, you can't choose them all.
Yeah.
You got to deal
Yeah.
with them, but deal with them with love.
Yeah.
Deal with them with love. We being of an Italian descent, we have a lot of passion. And passion's okay.
Mm-hmm.
The ego is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some people get that wrong, the ego. But it's
What is
okay.
ego, Joe? Talk about that. What is ego?
So, I mean, we can go to Sigmund Freud and dig in really deep, right? But this
Yeah.
is the essence that makes you you. The good, the bad, the fabric, right? It's all that
Mm-hmm.
makes you you. The only challenge with the ego is the direction that you want it to go, how much you want to feed it, what
Mm.
you want to feed it. Because you guys are, very physically fit and you have everything going on that way. If you eat something bad's going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you feed yourself with the best quality food, or as far as the ego goes, if you feed it and you surround yourself and it with good people, right, with the best intent, successful people. Don't get me wrong. We think success is bad. Success is not bad. Money is not bad. We need to live, right?
Right.
But what do you do with it? Like if we won this $1 billion that, in cash that was up, in Powerball the other day, I have a structure. Everybody knows me, knows what I have, I'm going to do with it. Set up nonprofits, have set up, entrepreneurships. I believe me, I have a whole thing.
Get the average dude a studio, maybe.
I was about to say get Jenny Winny and the average dude a studio.
I would be your biggest sponsor.
Selfish.
That was selfish. See, now I think of the other person.
I would be your biggest paid sponsor.
Yeah, I love it, Joe.
But you got to have those good habits in mind right off the bat every day. Don't feed the ego the wrong stuff. Feed them the good stuff. I'm going to try to throw this in there because I know, look, you're going to get some other people here. I'm just a small guy in a big pond, but we in business we want to think about IQ, right? You got to have aptitude for the job. There's no doubt about it. You got to hire the right people, the right job. But then it evolves to EQ, right? Emotional or emotional intelligence, emotional quadrant. So, which is great, right? More hiring people, more HR department people should understand that it's not just the right one.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I get it. It's not just the most qualified on paper, but it's also because I'm telling you, it can ruin your business if you don't have also that, what you're talking about, that EQ.
So what's more important in sales, EQ or IQ?
So I'm gonna blow your mind here in a second. So here's the thing. IQ is needed. This is the three-legged stool everybody's talking about. IQ is important. You got to show up qualified. But the EQ is more important because it's like having a quarterback. The height is right. The person looks great. They can throw the ball. But, being a Tom Brady fan, at least the past fan, you gotta be in those pressure moments that check off, one, check off two.
Absolutely.
You have about 3 to 5 seconds to be able to do this.
That's
until
right.
you find the right person to throw it to. That's what emotional intelligence is all about.
Yes.
The blowing mind there is that there's also one other part to this. It's the SI, the spiritual intelligence. Now, spiritual intelligence can mean a lot of things. It could be meditation, simply just finding a quiet place, getting your thoughts in place. But it can also mean for a lot of us that, yeah, we do believe in God. We do believe in that other component. And if you put yourself behind others, if you put yourself in a place where you think there's a greater good and there's a blueprint for being charitable, then that's the other part that comes in for business.
That's right.
EQ, right? EI or EQ, and then SI, spiritual intelligence.
And I think that can go with morality too, Joe. I mean, with it's like you want the person that has the brain, you want the person that has the emotional and the charisma, but you also want somebody that's morally a good fit also,
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be any one religion. I mean, look, I'm a Catholic. I'm admitting it. I'm a Christian. I love it. Okay, that's me. But I'm not going to push anything on anybody else because it shouldn't have to be a push anyways. It should be a pull. It should be a pull. It should be a gravitation.
It should be drawn to you based on you, not because you're like, hey, let me shove this down your throat.
Yeah, look, I've talked to Hindus and Buddhists and Wicca religion. I've talked to no religion, agnostic, atheist. But we always find common ground because in the end, like we talked about with the ego, there has to be more to life. There has to be more to a person about how they help others. You look at a Mother Teresa. Do you think she did it for her? No. She didn't do it for recognition. She didn't do it for any of that. She did it because every person she saw, the worst of the worst conditions, believe me, in India, even the government couldn't take care of these people. The worst of the worst conditions she and her sisters went to because in her mind, she said she saw the face of Jesus in every person she met. Now that's her.
Yeah.
Okay? But what a beautiful thought. that
do you think though, Joe, that it can be to your detriment too? Daniel, and I'm not saying, oh, I'm not Mother Teresa by any means, but I can't, this is what I always say, if it's within my power and somebody needs something, I do it. Almost to the point to where I'm like, whew. Daniel will say, I'll be riding home at 9:30 at night. And he's like, good night, Jenny. And I'm like, he's like, you got to learn to say no.
You got to learn not to say it's not about saying the no. It's not about pushing yourself out there, right? Too much.
Mm-hmm.
I would venture to this. I would venture that most people don't know what too much is.
Yeah.
They don't even take that initial step.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
You're helping your daughter. You're helping, Daniel here on this. You're helping others. You just do what you can. God doesn't ask you to do any more than you can do, because he doesn't want you to feel. He wants you to be in your best condition, mm-hmm. right? To show up for this game we call life. Okay. And if it's putting you at it's making you miserable or it's making you sick, doesn't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't want that.
That is
I've got a question. I'm just curious. This is a little bit of a changing speeds here, but you've been in sales. You've been in sales pretty much your whole career.
Correct. Yes.
Wait now, and I know you're a bright person. I can tell by your comments. You've got a big vocabulary. You know a lot of quotes. You've got a lot of wisdom. So what made you decide to get into sales? What was it about sales? Can you tell us about kind of why?
It's got to be people. You like interacting with people.
It's funny. I didn't get into sales. Sales got into me.
Wow.
There you go. What is it, Daniel? You called it when we did the communications thing. You didn't call it sales. You called it what?
Oh, relationship building or something like that. I think.
Yeah, relationship executive or manager or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny because I grew up in East Boston. Like I said, we were right near the airport. And when I was a kid, I'm like 9 or 10 years old. I had a shoe shine box. My parents gave it to me, and I took care of it well. Believe me.
Yeah.
On Saturdays, I would go to the airport, and I would shine shoes for $0.25.
Oh, that's
shine
cool.
shoes for $0.25. I would make my money and my buddies, and we'd get a hot dog or something.
Yeah.
Overpriced hot dog at the airport. And we'd have a few dollars, maybe $1 or $2 left. One time there was a gentleman, I know it's Veterans Day tomorrow. Look, I honor all the veterans. My son's an officer in the Navy.
Yes, sir.
But I remember this one time. Now, he had boots that were like all halfway up, his leg. Mm-hmm. He just came from serving. And he said, I'll take a shine. And I said, okay. And because I thought, if I give him the best shine I ever did, maybe he'll give me more than $0.25. I did. I shined the best that I could. And I used a lot of, the black. It was black.
Yeah.
I used half my can. When I was done, I spit shined. I did everything on it. And he gave me a dime.
Oh, no.
No, it's okay. He gave me a dime. I would be mad normally, but I wasn't mad because I gave him the best I got. And
maybe he gave you the best he had.
That's it. If that's all he had, that's all he had. Or, that's all he had that day. Maybe that, just give your best.
Yeah, give your best, no matter, not for what's in return, just because you want to give your best.
Yeah, so I think we're very happy. The people that are in sales. I mean, look, I know engineers and a lot of good people. That's a talent, but if you're in sales, it's like going to a show every day. Mm-hmm. It's like when Forrest Gump said about the box of chocolates, never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Although Russell Stover took care of that, because when you open it up, you know exactly what you get.
They're like, that's the one, the toothpaste. That's the one that's got the Mento in it. Joe, are you outside sales or are you inside?
Outside sales.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done inside. I've owned my own business at one time too. So I've cleaned grease traps at a food service place, and I've sold to high profile customers in the food industry. Even though right now I'm in the I sell injection molding for the medical device industry. But it doesn't really matter what you sell,
right?
Because the first thing you have to sell is yourself.
Absolutely.
And you got to believe in the company you represent, because my name is not Iannone. my last name's Iannone. It's not that. You know what my last name is? Whatever the company I represent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Joe at SRC Medical or Joe at wherever, because you have to be proud of where you work and you have to also be proud of who you are. That's, and you might not always get the sale, but that's another reason to have a network like on LinkedIn, is because you might help out another person that get the sale.
Yep.
You know, that something that I heard from actually Grant Cardone. You know who Grant Cardone is?
Sure.
So one of the things that he said is the first person you need to sell, you start a new job, the first person you sell, yourself. Yep. You got to be sold. You got to be so sold that you have the right product, that your solution works. And if there's any doubt, then it's going to show up in the way that you communicate. So and I've seen that play out, and maybe Joe has too. If I am somewhat like, I don't know if this is the right thing, I've got to be all in and know that it is the right thing. I don't know. That's the way I like to operate. That goes in
even with like my clothing store.
Yeah.
A vendor will say, hey, this is it. If I hate it, I can't sell it. I can sell what I love. I can be authentic and be like, yes, this is
that's right.
But I mean, but if you're faking it, it's people feel it. They feel it.
I know that I do, and I know that I can be passionate. Joe talked about passion earlier. When I believe it, I'm gonna be passionate. That's if I'm kind of like, it's hard to get excited. Joe, what do you think?
Look, you got to bring the passion in, but don't let, here we go with the ego, right? Don't let the passion and ego take over in thinking that you got somebody, all right? You got a hot one now. You're living and breathing, and you want to be able to sell them what you have. Don't be like that. I know you aren't. Either one of you are like, you're just the opposite. You're very, you're giving exactly what people, want.
Yes, he is.
But that's a mistake a lot of people make, is that, okay, when I came this far, I got to get something. No, that's not the way to think. You came this far. Be privileged. It's a privilege to come that far, because maybe it's not now, but maybe it's some other time. Maybe
Daniel, I've seen you do that. Daniel, he feels
you found an opportunity for somebody else that you know.
Yes, and Daniel, I've actually witnessed this. Is that he gets, and see, I'm not in the sales like y'all are, but I'll talk to Daniel sometimes, and it's just he's met somebody that he thinks is great. Did he sell him anything? No. But they made a connection. Now they know each other. It might turn into something down the road, but he's just all about making those connections, and it's like networking. And it's like he's not about let me get his business. That might happen. That's the ultimate goal. But I've seen that. I've seen you do that, Daniel. Look at it, Daniel, like eyebrow.
Yeah, you saw the eyebrow. Jonathan likes to when my eyebrows talk.
Jonathan likes that eyebrow. I can't.
Yeah. Well, I've got a question. Thank you, Jenny. But what I would say to Joe is when you've got a competitive bid situation, right? So it's your product against two of your competitors. We talked about competitors earlier, and I think we should go have lunch with them, by the way. But you've got a competitive bid situation. What is your mindset? Do you like your odds? It's a 33.3% chance. Do you like that kind of competitive bid situation? And how do you approach that, Joe?
I would say, look, when I'm very competitive by nature, just ask my kids, right?
Yeah.
They don't get away with anything. But competitive and compassionate, two separate things that can go together. When I show up to play, just like, let's talk about football, right?
Yeah.
Would you be disappointed if the other team showed up that was just not showing up mentally, physically?
Yeah.
Exactly. You want to go to battle with the best. You want your competitors to go to battle with your best. There's it's called a steel argument versus a straw argument. A steel argument is knowing everything about your competition, and like debaters do this, right? It's knowing everything about your competition and also giving them the benefit of the doubt to be able to win, instead of pushing them down and telling the customer, oh, this person's bad because of this.
Yep.
That person's bad because they're just bring up all kinds of dirt. That's not good. That's not good because your customer will see through it.
Absolutely.
But also, you're not doing yourself justice. But if you show up, you've done your homework, you actually know as much as you can about the customer, because you can do it through LinkedIn, you can do it through Facebook, you can do your research. In other words, do the hard work.
Right.
Be the toughest competitor you can be, and then let the roll, let the dice go. I mean, let the customer then decide. At the end of it, it's like losing any sport, right? If you gave everything on the field, you should be able to shake the hand of the opponent, and you have just created what is called respect. You've earned respect. So, going back to the business part of it, if your customer knows that you went to battle, you had all the facts, you did the best you could, you put a straw argument together, not just a steel argument together, not just a straw argument together for everybody at the table, and they decide a particular way. I'm going to tell you, I have so many stories that customers have gone for the person that they felt that had the integrity, that had the honesty, and may have not the perfect product.
That's right.
But they're going to go with them because they want to make sure that they have the right person.
I agree completely, and that's it. And I loved what you said too. It's like, do you want to go up against somebody that's not even trying? It took me back to childhood when my brother and I were doing something. He's like, I knew he's letting me. And don't let me win. Don't just let me win. Let me know that I fought against somebody good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'll tell you that,
Daniel.
So that's that. I'm sorry.
Does that make sense? Does that answer?
Oh, absolutely. It popped into my head a story that I've got to tell right now. It's a story of Big Rog, Uncle Roger. It's Jenny Winnie's dad. So I'd just gotten into sales. I was selling phone systems. So I was 18, 19 years old, and I was working at a company, and the seasoned salesperson was going to take me out on an appointment. I said, well, let's go talk to my uncle. He was in the market for a new phone system for his business. We went out there, and of course, the fellow I was with, he was leading the appointment, and he did a great job in the beginning, Joe. He was on his game. He was telling, I could read Big Rog. I could tell that he was interested. We were getting ready to sell ourselves a phone system. Well, at the end of it, as we're kind of, Big Roger's asking all the right questions, what comes next, and all the sorts of things, and he mentions BNR Communication. I still remember the name of it. BNR Communications. Like, I almost called BNR Communications. And the fellow that I was with, he starts talking about BNR. And he starts talking really bad about them.
That's the competition?
Yes.
Yeah.
BNR, he starts saying, but they don't do this and they don't do that. And I watched this sale just, I mean, he's my uncle. He wanted to buy this from us. But when someone speaks poorly of the competition, it never looks good.
It makes you look terrible.
It made us look cheap. It made us look all sorts of things. So I learned that very early. And what I have done since then, and this has to be, I actually will genuinely compliment the competition. If they do something really well that I appreciate, then I will say, you know what, they do. One of the things that I will say about them is they do put together one heck of a proposal. It is so detailed, and man, it looks good.
If you can just find one authentic thing I agree. And say, look at that, Daniel. I remember you selling phone systems, and I mean, that was way back.
I was 19 years old.
But I'll tell you what, that's one thing you can say about my dad is that he sees through that kind of junk, and he.
Oh yeah, well, he's a great salesperson, but so he knows kind of what to look for. But I couldn't believe it, and what's amazing is that the person that I was with
He didn't catch it.
He was like the seasoned sales pro.
Yeah,
and I just thought, man, and now it's an easy trap to fall into. We want to elevate ourselves by talking about others. That never works.
Nope.
In any capacity, in any situation.
That is true for every situation, everywhere.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So, Joe, let me ask you this. Enjoyed having you on here today, by the way.
Me too.
Mindset going into an appointment. So we talked a little bit about mindset, but before you go in, what are those? Do you have a routine? Do you have something to put yourself in the right mode?
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about doing all the homework, right? So you want to do all the homework. You want to try to understand the challenges that they may be having. Look, it might be evident that once you start talking, it's something completely different. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be flexible that, to know that maybe there's something else that they haven't told you, you didn't find out. Mm-hmm. But and then also look in the beginning, try to catch something that you did your LinkedIn homework and you said this person went to this school.
Or, absolutely, yes.
Or they lived here, or they just find something personal. And so it's not all about business; it's about just connecting in a relationship.
Exactly.
But the mindset is try to be helpful. Go in there, figuring out what the solution may be, and if you can provide it. If you can't provide it, then you have a network of sources that you can help provide. Mm-hmm. Right? We put together a group of professionals, and I know, Daniel, you and I had talked about this. It's called the Alliance. Mm-hmm. The Alliance is a group. Now, we do injection molding here. We don't do thermoforming. We don't do contract packaging. I mean, there's a lot of things we don't do. Design work for the most part, etc. But the point is that we have a group of experts in the industry with their companies that have been vetted. We screened them out. We know they're good people. We know good companies. And so when the customer comes to us, let's say, then we, with complete honesty and having, hey, I got a guy, right? Or I got a gal. Yeah. We can say that we've vetted these people. In other words, we've utilized them before. They come through. They have a quote within 48 to 72 hours. They've done jobs, and they've done well. The customers have liked them, because customers these days, they don't want to spend so much time having to work at finding
it,
connection,
and knowing who to trust. That's the thing. Right. But if they trust Joe, and then you say, "Look," then that just adds the credibility to it, I think.
Oh,
absolutely. It's like sponsoring somebody, right, Daniel? You know that. It's like sponsoring somebody for Toastmasters. You bring somebody in. I'm not in Toastmasters, but you are. And I know that's near and dear to your heart. Yes. But when you bring somebody in, you want to guide them, and there's a system approach, and you want to, you don't have to compete at the international level. Mm-hmm. You just might want to be a better speaker. You just want to be a better communicator.
Yes.
Right. So it's the same thing. You just want to be able to communicate what you offer, your expertise when you walk in. This goes back to when you walk into a place. You've broken down those barriers, if there's any defensives, and you want to get to the how can I help? Mm-hmm.
And that's part of listening to Joe, because someone gave an example one time. They said, "Hey, if a doctor walked in to the exam room and said, 'All right, here's your prescription.' Wait, you don't even know what's wrong with me." Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't go into somebody for a sales call and presume or assume that you know what they already need.
Now, I fall into that trap a lot. I assume way too much.
So you let them talk.
Yeah, we see these things a lot, and so the tendency is to want to see it coming and to say, "Yeah, I got you."
I got it. No, I just
that ain't what go.
Jenny, that is so inspiring. I tell you, man, I love both of you, and I can only say I'm blessed to have met you both, because honestly, and look, I see a lot of podcasts. Not a ton, because obviously you got to do your stuff, but I would say what the advantage here is, the average Joe and Jenny, Winny, is that you guys see straight through it. Mm-hmm. Like you just said, Jenny, is that you go to a doctor, you're not looking for the prescription. Like all he asks is like, okay, where does it hurt? How long has it been hurting?
Right.
All those he's like a detective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it goes back to what you said, Daniel. When you walk in, be a detective. Look around the room.
Yes.
See what the people's passions are. Mm-hmm. If you see something that, you're a fan of the Packers, or you're a fan of hunting, or I see you put something about the Beatles or, whatever that they enjoy, you can get an understanding of where they're coming from.
Yep.
Yeah. And so what you're talking about there, Joe, is what I have found through podcasting that has really just helped me so much in what we're talking about there. So if we go one level deeper, in other words, we don't just see that they went to Clemson University or wherever they went to school, sure, but we think of a question that they may have been faced with at that time of their life. How did you choose between Clemson and Carolina? And that's that way, it doesn't sound like robotic rapport building talk. It feels like a real conversation.
And you should be genuinely interested. And that's part of even, Joe, like with what we're doing, it's like half the time, I know it's just like a little podcast, but we're legitimate. I'll always walk away with something. It's more like the world's not even there. And you can see like little light bulbs always going off. It's just such a great networking of really like you're sharing all your insight. We have somebody else, they share their insight. And it's like, if we could all just share it together.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, Steve Jobs started in a garage.
I know.
I mean, and this is a guy that was an orphan. I mean, even if you know some of the profile, the background of the people that, we think, I mean, I get an iPhone,
he dropped out of college.
If he wasn't here, he didn't see it, it would never be. I mean, that's why a podcast like that, you may say it's small and it's simple, but this is the most rewarding. This is what people need in their life. They need simplicity.
Yeah.
They need people
Realness.
to be real with them.
Real.
Okay? They need genuine and the average dude.
Yeah, they need genuine because it's like, it can be all like a major studio and everything, or let's just have a conversation. That's what it's all about.
Hey, and not to say that I don't want a microphone, and I want some of those things, but it doesn't have to be right away. At the end of the day, the content and getting to connect with people. People ask, somebody said, well, how many followers? I don't know. I get some more benefits from everything else. Now, I don't want followers.
It's just about making those connections. And it's like, we could do more in trying to grow it and this and that. And that's fine. But you know what? It's like, honestly, it's going to be somebody like Joe saying, have you ever listened to them? You need to try it. That word, that kind of thing is authentic growth, Yeah.
If you guys had a tagline, it would be, let's just have a conversation.
Yes.
Let's just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because it's like opening up somebody to come to dinner.
Yeah.
Let's just sit down and eat.
Let's just join us.
Yeah, because I just don't like the feeling of simply regurgitating or saying what we've heard before and feeling mechanical. I don't like that on my sales calls. I don't like it in anything I do. I like to be able to break down those walls and have a real, like you said, Joe, a real conversation.
A new idea or an old idea presented in a new way where now it's like, oh, it clicks. I don't know. That's what it's all about. And
hey, Joe, well, let me say this. We're a little over an hour, but we appreciate you. I wanted to have you on here for a while. And I said, I got to call Joe this morning and see
I'm so glad.
And we appreciate your support. We appreciate you being on and appreciate your friendship as well.
Absolutely.
Well, let me thank you too. And I, Daniel, remember Jesse Cole, obviously, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the founder of the Savannah Bananas.
And from Spartanburg. But go ahead. Yeah. Walter College.
So I'm going to tell you how this story goes real quick. You had him on your podcast. Mm-hmm. I got to know him from LinkedIn. We connected. I've read his books. I've given books away. But he's coming to the Northeast. He's coming to Massachusetts in August next year. And I'm securing tickets for my family to go to that event.
Oh, cool.
And I would never have known about Jesse or the Savannah Bananas or read the books or anything like that.
That's awesome.
Without you.
That is awesome.
I appreciate that. I'm so glad that kind of came full circle and it helps me to kind of see, one of the things that, and Jenny Winny, I've talked about this. I want to tell people's story. There's so many cool humans that have done cool things.
Yeah.
And we just need to broadcast those stories and have conversations with people. And you don't have to have a huge following. You don't have to be famous to have an interesting or valuable insights and stories. I think almost the opposite. people that are willing to speak what's really on their mind, it really humanizes this whole experience that we're all having.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And any final thoughts, Joe?
I would say, look, man, leave it with this: assume positive intent, but also redefine what love is, and love is to will the good of the other.
Mm-hmm.
Love is to will the good of the other. If you just woke up, man, and you figured out that, see what you can do to change somebody's life for the better,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to make a change in your life.
That's it.
That's a big deal.
So
that's
anyway.
a good final thought.
I like it. Jenny, Winny, what's your final thought? Perfect. Well said. Hey, I'm gonna have to give a shout out to Chris Simmons who did that to me so many times in the beginning. But Chris is great about putting you under the gun. He'll say, "Daniel, give us a final thought and close us out." I'm like, I don't know what to say.
How do you follow that? Joe's like love and da da da, and I'm like, be kind. Be
Jenny,
kind.
next time I ask you, this is what I want you to say. Let's roll.
Let's roll.
That's it.
See you guys.
Have a good one. See you later.
Thanks, Joe.